Good day and welcome, America and beyond. I'm Tom Donahue for Tom Donahue Reports in the Briefing. Well, we're just going to stay on the same subject as the previous broadcast, and that is Epstein, the Epstein files, the Epstein cover-up, the Epstein conspiracy, the Epstein scandal, and it's riveting the nation and the world. And more people from the left, from the right, in between, here, there, and everywhere, are now starting to question, are now starting to demand, and it's pedal to the metal time, and there's no time for let up. Now, I see that Trump is creating other areas of controversy, which is not unusual in a Trump administration. Release this, pivot to here, it's obfuscate. He's a master of deceit and division and diversion. So we've got diversion going on and trying to get us looking at other things. And the fact of the matter is that's not helping. And it's certainly not going to sweep this controversy under the rug. It's not going to disappear like so many of the Trump controversies over the past. So let me get right to some of the more recent headlines that dovetail and fit quite nicely with the previous podcast. Now, the Wall Street Journal has done an article, and it's in quote-unquote wonderful secret. Epstein files include drawing of nude woman Trump sent to late sex trafficker on his birthday. Now, Trump is suing, get this, if you're not fully up to speed and aware of this, $10 billion going after the Murdock empire for this Wall Street Journal article. And the reporters say it is well-sourced, well-documented, and completely accurate. Now, Trump, as you know, beyond obfuscation, tells big whoppers. He is a known, not just prevaricator, but a liar, serial liar, and hypocrite. Now, Trump, when they heard about this drawing, Don Jr. jumped in and said, I don't remember my dad ever doodling. Trump said, I've never drawn anything. And then, lo and behold, Trump did draw many things and auctioned. And so just because Trump says something or denies something doesn't mean it's not true. Now, Mike Pence, former vice president, has a message for Donald Trump about Jeffrey Epstein. He says, release all the files. Now, if you go back in the past, and I've covered this before, you had Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, all of them saying that the Epstein files had to be released, including Don Jr. But, do they think that these podcasts and YouTube videos and news accounts and TV interviews on Fox News and top-notch radio shows are just going to evaporate? So you have Don Jr., you have these other cast of characters that, of course, are defending the father, the president, the so-called man, myth, and legend. No matter what troubles belie Trump, he always seems to wiggle out, the Teflon Don. But he's not getting out of this one because the MAGA faithful so far have not been convinced to give him another pass. All the enablers are now starting to say, I don't know if I want to enable him on this. I don't know if I want to forgive and forget. I don't know if I want to move on. Remember, Trump was saying that the MAGA faithful, there's an obsession, and it's time to just move on. This guy was a creep. Well, let's talk about this creep. The quote that comes to mind is, Jeffrey Epstein was a terrific guy. Now, there are many, many accounts, and I shouldn't say I published. Essentially, I'm posting publications from a variety of sources, well fact-checked, well documented. They're at the news headlines at TalkStream Live, TalkRight, Alt Media, and others that use our news headlines. And I am the editor, and I'm responsible for choosing these particular articles. Now, Steve Bannon filmed Epstein for 15 hours for a documentary. I just saw a recent headline stating that he is going to release this in the coming months. So I wonder what Bannon came up with. Now, these FBI agents that were going through these files that allegedly were going to be released, well, Bondi pressured 1,000 plus FBI personnel to comb through those files and flag any mention of Trump. Does that sound like something that's lawful, legitimate, an innocent man? Are we starting to see the smoke signals here? Are we starting to see that the reason for the obfuscation and the withholding of these documents and the reversal and the hypocrisy is because the closer they got to this, the more they realized Trump's up to his eyeballs in this. And I mentioned in the previous podcast or broadcast that Trump, in legal documents, the flight logs, showed that Trump took 7 flights to the island. Now, he's not a drinker. He's not a partier. Well, I mean, you see him doing a little dance with Epstein there. I believe that was the New York City mansion. But he's also made visits to the Palm Beach mansion of Epstein. The relationship, I'd said, was somewhere in the areas of a decade or 10 years. But the more I'm reading, the more I'm finding out it's about 15 years. And people close to Epstein, Lady Maxwell, his assistant, stated that they were extremely close and talked all the time. So we have a situation here where Trump, we're now finding out, was much closer to Epstein than we realized. Spent a lot of time with Epstein. So now we know New York City, Palm Beach, and the island. Now, it was just recently reported that Trump held a party, an event with young girls on display in Mar-a-Lago, and his only guest was Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. Another sound, audio file was released, which when Trump was on Howard Stern's show, and they said, what is the youngest limit that he would consider? And he said, there are no limits. He said, well, I wouldn't go as low as 12 or 13. I guess there was the Congressman Foley incident. Let me get the exact quote on that, but this came from Mediaite to Trump's stunning response when asked if he has a sexual age limit resurfaces during this Epstein mania. And it was Howard Stern talking to Trump. Remember, Trump was good friends with a lot of people on the liberal side and on the major media marketplace. This was 2006, in all fairness, going back quite a bit of time. Trump says, so Robin Quivers, the sidekick for Howard Stern, says, yeah, but do you have an age limit or would you? And the future president says, no, I have no age limit. I mean, I have an age, and then she goes, the upper bracket. And then Trump says, I don't want to be like Congressman Foley with, a 12-year-old. So a little bit nebulous, but you read between the lines. And Trump is having no problems. He's not denouncing and trouncing anyone that would consider someone less than a legal age. And anyone that still thinks that Trump is Mr. Innocence, I mean, remember he was saying you can grab them by the, what? He has been convicted of sexual assault. He's been accused of rape and sexual assault by many, many women. And he has cheated on all his wives. And he has had sex with a porn star during a marriage, a pregnant Melania. He has had lots of affairs. This is a moral reprobate, okay? And I've always said that all along, that I never liked Trump personally. And I did support him in his policies because he basically borrowed from people like myself, Michael Savage, Chuck Harder, Pat Buchanan, Ross Perot, Ron Paul, and we can go on and on. So there's never been an original idea or policy from Trump. He borrows but never gives accreditation or never gives the proper credit to who he borrowed from. So he's sort of like he's like a policy plagiarizer. Yeah, that's exactly what he is. Now, there is a MAGA mutiny going on, and Trump can be in denial all he wants, and he can try to suppress it, and he can threaten, and he can continue to try to bully, but it's not going to help. And if it does, if those or that weak need that would help in the cover-up, that would be co-conspirators to this cover-up. The Epstein files in full, with little or no redactions, need to be released. Thanks for listening to Tom Donahue Reports. That's TomDonahueReports.com.